The Adites are remembered by the Arabs as a great and civilized race. They were depicted as men of enormous stature, their strength equal to their size, and able to easily move large stones. They were excellent architects and builders. They erected many monuments high out of their strength. And so, among the Arabs, there was a custom to call the remaining large stone ruins the Adi people building. To this day the Arabs say, the Ad. In the Quran they are said to have made the buildings they built on high ground, high places for nothing, phrases which prove that their idolatry is thought to have been colored with the culture of Sabism or worship of the stars. Quote, Lenormand. In this legend, we find traces of a high civilization, a constructor of great buildings, with an advanced civilization, similar to that of Chaldea, which had a religion similar to that of Babylon. Material progress was aligned with great immorality and obscene rites. The facts this must be true and true history, for everywhere they meet the Ethiopians, among the Canaanites their brethren are from. Quote, also a great calamity that destroyed the entire Adite nation, except for the few who fled because they had left idolatry. Black clouds covered their land in which the whole area was fierce storms and great floods, which wiped out everything. The first Adites were followed by the second Adites, maybe this second Adite people who have escaped from the big disaster. The center of its power is the Sheba Empire. The Adites survived for 1,000 years. The remains of the Adites people can be seen from the existing monuments in Egypt as well as the Egyptians themselves. Their hair is red or sunburnt. Their large shrine is a pyramid building. Ancient History of the East, page 321. Agatharchides on the Sabian, from the book De Mari Erythreo, p. 102. Their homes were extraordinarily decorated, and utensils of all kinds, gold and silver, bedding and silver, and all the furnishings of astonishing wealth. The buildings they owned were with columns covered in gold, or silver. On the frieze, the ornaments, and the door frame in which they put the gold plates of precious stones. Quote, all this brings to mind one of the descriptions given by the Spaniards of sun temples in Peru. The people there worshipped Phoenician gods with slightly changed names. Their religion was the sun worship chief. It was originally a religion without form, without idolatry, and without the priesthood. Ibid. p. 325. They worshipped the sun from the top of the pyramid. They believed in the immortality of the soul. In all this we see the resemblance to Atlantis. The great Ethiopian or Kushite Empire, which in the earliest times, as Mr. Rawlinson put it, from the Caucasus to the Indian Ocean, from the shores of the Mediterranean Sea to the mouth of the river Ganges, was the empire of Dionysus, the kingdom of Ad, the kingdom of Atlantis. El-Eldrisi called the language spoken today by Mara Arabs, in East Arabia, the language of the Ad people, and Dr. J. H. Carter, in the Bombay Journal of July, 1847, said, this is the softest and sweetest language I have ever heard. It would be interesting to compare this dialect with the languages of Central America. The Egyptian god Thoth was a god who called it Hathas. We turn to another ancient race, the Indo-European family, the Aryan race. In Sanskrit Adam, it means formerly. Among Hindus people call the first person as Ad Ima, his wife is Heva. They live on an island, said to be Sri Lanka. They left the island and came to the mainland. When a great natural disaster occurred, their communication with the land of the parents was forever cut off. Let's pay attention to the word, rare. This word is a word that has experienced a distortion of location. Nowadays many people interpret or refer to Sri Lanka or Ceylon. The word, rare. Hypothetical literacy is also the location of Lanka, is a Sanskrit technical term used in ancient Indian sciences such as astronomy, mathematics and geometry. This is recorded in the Bible in India. Sources: Shodhganga. Lanka is the name of the area mentioned in the Kavyamimamsa from the 10th century Rajasekara. In Ramayana, Kavyamimamsa Rajaikara and Balaramayana, the description of this island does not support its identification with Ceylon or beyond Sri Lanka. This island is located on the west side of the peninsula. This is the island, while Sri Lanka is on its eastern side. Lanka at the equator where the meridians intersect, that is, the place with longitude 0 degrees and latitude 0 degrees or latitude 0 degrees near it, is that the sun is in the equinox position just above the object on Earth, resulting in the object having no shadow. Sri Lanka coordinates. This location is at 10.279.2 left pointing arrow right pointing arrow 82.35.5 map center 0.7 degrees 51 and 80 degrees 45. E. 7.85 degrees north 80.75 degrees east, Colombo City 6 degrees 56.04, N. 79 degrees 50 minutes 34 seconds east, 6.93444 degrees north 79.84278 degrees east. In summary, Sri Lanka's north latitude is between 6 degrees 7 degrees, not equinox, or not a location where there is a no shadow effect, so it's not Sri Lanka either. Based on the results of measurements and research by J.W. Iserman assisted by Delprat in 1889, 0 degrees 21 north latitude is the position of equinox. Astronomically, the site of Muara Takus, Kampar Riau, Indonesia is located on the line which is meant without shadow, here is correct. So astronomically the site, Muara Takus, is located on the equator coordinates 0 degrees 21 N and 100 degrees 39 east longitude, 0.09 east longitude. This is where the shadowless area equinox. The shadowless point at Muara Takus site, Kampar, Sumatra, Indonesia, visited by Chinese pilgrims from Fa Huan 337-422 ad to It Shing in the 7th century AD. Coming to study, copying lots of notes on Dharma or Dhamma, carried over to his country, not bringing the teachings of Buddhism from his country to spreading here. This proves that the word Ceylon, found in books including the book Mahavamsa, is not Sri Lanka at this time, but is in Kampar Riau, Sumatra, Indonesia. Here we seem to have memories of the destruction of Atlantis. Bryant said, Ad was the first. The Persians call the first person Adamah. Adon is one of the names of the Phoenician supreme deity, from that comes the name of the Greek god, Adonis. Listed in Arv Genesis or Ar Ad of the Cushites, now known as Ru Ad. It is a series of cities connected 12 miles along the coast, filled with ruins of the greatest and most majestic of all times. Sir William Jones says the people were Persians in the earliest times. He said, Moshan assures us that the opinion of his predecessor is that the first king of Iran, and all the earth, is Mashab Ad, which he received from the Creator, and recorded among several scriptures, in the heavenly language, used by the author Mussulman, gives the Arabic title, Dasatir, or Regulations. Mashab Ad, in the opinion of the ancient Persians, the one who was left behind at the end of the last great cycle of his people. At first the king of Atlantis. The naming seems to be seen in these ancient gods grouped together as Aditya, and in this name, Aditya, we find a strong resemblance to the Semitic culture as Adites, and other stories about Atlantis, or Atlantis. In corroborating this view, we can conclude 1. The deities which are grouped together as Aditya are the most ancient in Indian Hindu mythology. 2. They were all gods of light, or sun gods. Whitney's Oriental Studies and Linguistics, page 39. 3. There are 12 of them. 4. These 12 deities preside over the 12 months of the year. 5. They are an uptake from a very remote past. Whitney, it looks like this is an attempt by Indian religion to make new developments morally. 6. Direction, which is a change in the character and condition of society, has caused it to fail in the middle, and returns to forgetfulness, although it is not yet half finished and unclear. 7. These gods were called the sons of Aditi, just as in the Bible we find the similarity in the naming of sons of Adab, who were the originators and first musicians. Aditi is not a goddess as the queen's daughter, she is a fair child. 8. Aditya is exalted above all imperfection, they do not sleep or blink. The Greeks regarded as representing God, they were both awake and all-knowing. Their character is all truth, they hate evil. We have seen the same traits the Greeks had for the kings of Atlantis. 9. The sun is sometimes referred to as Aditya. 10. Among Aditya is Varuna, the equivalent of Uranos, who identifies with Atlantis. In the Veda, Varuna is the god of the seas. Aditya represents an earlier and purer form of religion, while in the long spiritual chants of prayer to the other gods, life, wealth, strength, to Aditya is generosity, forgiveness of sins, freedom from guilt, and repentance. Oriental and Linguistic Studies, page 43. Aditya, like the Adites, identified with the doctrine of the immortality of the soul. Yama is the god of living outside. In Persian stories he appears as Yima, and as made ruler of the Golden Age and founder of heaven. Ibid. Page 45. C. Zamna, Page 167 Ante. Given all these facts, one cannot doubt that the legends of the sons of Ad, people of Adites, and people of Aditya, all refer to Atlantis. Apart from the above discussion in Indonesia, many use the name Aditya, including Aditya Warman. George Smith, in the account of the Chaldeans and of creation, page 78, which is elaborated from the Babylonian version, shows that there was an original human race at the beginning of Chaldean history, a dark race, the Zalmat Kakadi, called Ad-Mi, or Ad-Ami. They are a fallen, and opposite to the Saku, or light race. The fall probably refers to their destruction by the Great Flood, as a result of moral degradation and the wrath of the gods. The name Adam is used in legends, but as the name of a race, not men. Genesis chapters 3:2 clearly says that God created man male and female, and called their name Adam. That is, these people are Ad-Ami, the people of Ad, or Atlantis. The author of the book of Genesis, says M. Schobel, in speaking of people being swallowed up by calamity, always describes them as Hadam, Adamite men. The Cain race lived and reproduced far from the land of Seth, in other words, away from a land devastated by calamity. Josephus, who gives us a description of the primitive tradition of the Jews, tells us chapter 2, page 42, that Cain traveled in many countries, before he came to the land of Nod. The Bible does not tell us that Cain's race died by calamity. Cain comes out of the presence of the Lord. He does not call his name. Those who are destroyed are sons of Jehovah. Quote. All this shows that the great colony was dispatched by a civilization source before sinking into the sea. Across the ocean we find Guatemalans claiming their descent from a goddess called a Tit, or an ancestor who lived for 400 years, and first taught to worship the true God, which they later forgot. Bancroft's Native Races, Volume E. Page 75. While the famous Mexican calendar stone indicates that the sun was commonly called Tonatiuh, but at that time it was called the god of calamity, it was later called Atl Tonatiuh, or Adonasiah. Valentini's Mexican calendar stone, Maya Art of Archaeology, page 15. Thus we find the sons of Ad at the foundation of all the most ancient human races, namely the Hebrews, Arabs, Chaldeans, Hindus, Persians, Egyptians, Ethiopians, Mexicans, and Central Americans. Historical testimony shows that all of these races when traced back to Atlantis. It can be concluded that the Adites known to the Arabs were not the first Aad people but were the human remains who survived the Aad disaster and moved to South Arabia. This actually corresponds to the verse of the Quran. And that he is God, who owns the Shira star, and that he destroyed the first people of Ad, and the people of Thamud. So there is no one left by him alive. And the Noah before that. In fact they are the most despotic and most disobedient, Surah in Najm 49-52. And it is possible that the Aad people also have ritual worship of celestial bodies, for example, the star Sirius. If we study the Adites who landed in South Arabia eventually developed into the Sabaean people who we know worship the sun. The 11,000-year-old Göbekli Tepe site, the same as Plato's time of the destruction of Atlantis, also seems to cult the star Sirius. We can see the similarities in the stories that come from the scriptures as follows. 1. According to the Bible, the founder of the Tower of Babel is Nimrod the son of Cush bin Ham bin Noah, while according to the Book of Jubilee the Tower of Babel is 2,484 meters high. This is the tallest building in the world and no one has matched it until now. 2. According to the Quran, the Aad people erected very high pillars which had never been made before on the face of the earth. 3. According to Greek mythology, Atlas supports heaven and earth and is symbolized by towering pillars touching the sky. Father of Atlas according to Greek mythology is Iapetus, who was probably Euphits bin Na. Meanwhile, according to Plato, the father of Atlas was Poseidon, who was probably Sidon bin Canaan bin Ham bin Noah. 4. According to Indian mythology, Kashyap is the father of the Adityas, who are also known as the Devas. Kashyap was probably Cush bin Ham bin Noah, while the Adityas were probably Aads. Kashyap's wives were the children of Prajpati or Euphits bin 5. So the Aad people are probably the descendants of Euphits and Ham. This also fits the biblical narrative where the founder of the Tower of Babel is Nimrod, the son of Cush bin Ham bin Noah. It is also in accordance with the Arab legend that the Adites Aad are the descendants of Ham bin Na. So the Adityas from Indian mythology were probably Nimrod and his people who built the Tower of Babel, which has a height of 2,484 meters. This is what the Quran mentions as the Aad people who built the pillars of Aram, which had never been made before on this earth. And this is what is called Atlas in Greek mythology, which is also famous for its pillars that touch the sky, and Atlas is also the son of Iapetus or Euphits bin Noah. 6. The Aad people are destroyed by the wind according to the Quran. According to the Bible, the Tower of Babel was also destroyed by the wind. According to Indian mythology, Indra, the leader of the Adityas Devas, is the lord of storms and lightning. According to Greek mythology, the Titans, a group of giants of which Atlas is one, were destroyed by Zeus, the lord of storms and lightning. 7. The Aad people are described as people who are proud of their strength and like to torture ruthlessly and cruelly, or it can be said that the Aad people have the characteristics of the colonialists, imperialists. In the Bible it says, God raised Euphits bin Noah and his descendants. And he will live in the tents of Sam bin Noah and his descendants. And Canaan bin Ham bin Noah and his descendants will be his servants. 8. In Indian mythology, the Adityas Devas are revered and worshipped. In Greek mythology, the Titans, of which Atlas is one of them, are a group of giants who had ruled the world. After that, because of the cruelty of Cronus, the leader of the Titan, Zeus held a confrontation and defeated the Titans. In addition to information from Indian mythology, there is a story about the Patala area, which is the area where the Asuras lived. The Patala area is divided into 1. Atala, 2. Vitala, 3. Sutala, 4. Talatala, 5. Mahatala, 6. Rasatala, 7. Patala, Nagaloka. One of the areas of Patala, Atala, is very similar to the pronunciation of Atlantis. Aram, or the Tower of Babel, or the Pillars of the Atlas. In Indian mythology there is a story about Mount Meru which is described as very high. And it turns out that in the early 20th century a Hungarian nationality Marek Orelstein found Dunhuang manuscripts, which are thought to be from the 2nd century AD in the cave, 1,000 Buddhas. Interestingly, one of the documents describes Mount Meru as a tower. Could this be the original form of Meru, mountain, which is a very tall tower which is also called Tower of Babel?